You know how to send offers, but nothing's happening. No accepts, no counters, just silence. So you're wondering, what offer should I be sending? Is 10% a big enough discount? Should I be sending a shipping discount? Or how many offers should I be sending? Don't worry, we are going to address all these questions and more in this video. So here are some things that you want to be thinking about when you're sending offers on Poshmark. You do not need to send the same offer every time. Different items deserve different offers. Here are some things you can look at when you are sending offers. The time frame. Is it a new listing or an old listing? A 30-day listing is going to have a different percentage of an offer than a 365-day listing. The seasonality of the item. If you want to sell a winter jacket, it is most likely going to sell in the fall and winter time as opposed to the spring and summertime. That does not mean do not list the item. It just means be aware that certain items sell more or quicker based on the seasons. Another thing to look at is demand. If you know that this is a high demand item, that it will sell and it sells for this amount, then you know what you're waiting for. But there's some items that just aren't as in demand and they take time to sell. This is when knowing your sell-through rate for an item comes in handy. Another thing to think about is your shipping discount. Shipping discounts are not required, but they are really nice and they're appealing to the buyer. Now that you're kind of thinking about the items in your closet based on the seasonality of the item, the time it's been listed in your closet, the demand of the item, let's talk about building a simple offer rhythm that you can use and implement and stick with. So how often should you be sending offers? Honestly, there is no hard rule that says
you need to be sending one offer a day at this amount off so you will be successful.
No, it doesn't work like that. It honestly comes down to you testing, trying different things, figuring out what's best for you, your closet, and your items. Because my closet is different than your closet, which is different than someone else's closet. And it's different than someone else's closet who's doing this full time versus someone who's doing this part time and selling their own things. So you just need to be aware of your items and, like we said, seasonality and different things that go into it. So pick a rhythm and something that works for you and that you can stick with. Do you want to send daily offers? If you can and you want to, go for it. Do you want to send weekly offers? If you want to, do that. If you want to send only monthly offers, do that as well. It comes down to testing and trying different things.
Can we get a do-over there? Let's go again, can we? What?
Try different offers, try different times, try different days, and see what works and doesn't work for you. So let the data guide you and not your frustration or a guessing game. Let's actually look at Google Trends, which is where you can see when people are most active or looking at Poshmark, so you know the best times to post. I typed in the term Poshmark and I put in 3 months. So let's look at this 3-month graph at the dips and the rises. So right here, let's see, it dips down. One of the biggest dips is November 13th. So what is this telling me? November 13th is a Thursday. Towards the end of the week, not so busy. Let's see if this becomes a trend. Let's go through a rise. November 15th, that is a Saturday. Another dip down here. That is November 20th. That is another Thursday. A little bit of a rise, November 22nd, that is another Saturday. Big dip down here, November 26th, that is a Wednesday. I particularly think it was a big dip because it was right before Thanksgiving. Another skyrocket up here, that's the 28th. That's the day after Thanksgiving. Then it spiked. Why? Because it was right after the holidays. People kind of spent their money that they were going to spend on the holidays. Now they're thinking about Christmas, shopping a little bit more. Let's go with this big dip down here. This big dip is December 24th, right before Christmas. People aren't really shopping. They've done their shopping. They maybe are maxed out on money right now, not spending. Then the jump that happens on the 25th and on the 28th. 25th was a Thursday, Christmas. People got their money, spending a little more. And then the other rise was the 28th, Sunday, a little after Christmas, right before New Year's, so still doing their shopping. A little dip down again, December 31st, New Year's Eve. People are going to be ready to celebrate. They're not shopping. Then it rises up again on the January 1st and then January 3rd, so right after Christmas Eve. New Year's, people are shopping again. Just by me reading all these numbers, what are you noticing? I'm noticing I see Saturday as one of the biggest peak days. I see Friday as a good peak day. I saw Wednesday at some lower days, but what you're seeing is on the lowest days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, is when they're least active. So the goal is to send it when people are most likely to be on, most likely to get the notification, and most likely to take action. So like I said, this does not mean try everything all at once. Pick a month and say, I'm going to send all my offers on Wednesday. Send all your offers on Wednesday, test it out, see what you get. Then the next month, try something else. Say, I'm going to try sending it out on a Saturday, see what you get. If you want to try Tuesday and Thursdays, because guess what? What if because there's not a lot of people on and maybe a lot of people are thinking, maybe I'm thinking, and not sending offers on Tuesday and Thursdays, maybe your offers will stand out. Who knows? I just showed you what the data is showing, and you can test out and figure out what is working best for you and what can get you the best results. So now that we've talked about you, your offers, what you want to do, how you feel about it, let's put ourselves in the buyer's shoes, because as much as we want to make money as sellers, it ultimately comes down to the buyer, because if they're not buying it, you're not making money.
Oh no. No, 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 no.
So put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Buyers don't just look at the item price itself. They look and they feel the actual price of the item, the shipping cost, and ultimately if this is an item that is worth buying for them. So when thinking about sending an offer, a small discounted offer doesn't really move the needle much for a buyer. I'm actually going to break down some offers sent so you see the numbers and you can see where I'm coming from. For this example one, let's say you send a 10% offer and no shipping discount. Let's say you have an item that's listed for $50. At 10% off, that is a $5 discount. So that means the offer being sent to this person is $45 with no shipping discount, plus the cost of shipping, which is $6.49. So that means this person on their end sees the price being $51.49. Ultimately, if you think about it, the item is listed for $50, but what they're seeing at the end of the day is $51.49. Does that really scream,
buy me, great discount?
No, it doesn't really move much. But I want to break it down even more so you as a seller are aware of what you're getting. From the $50 item, you send this $45 offer, no shipping discount. This means Poshmark takes that 20% fee, so that's $9. And then your earnings for this item will be $36. So let's do another example. This example is going to be a 20% offer discount with a shipping discount on a $50 item. So this means the item is $50, 20% off means minus $10. So that is a $10 discount for the buyer. So that means the item is $40 now. But you also offered a shipping discount. Shipping discount means $1.50 taken away from my earnings. That means for the buyer, instead of paying $6.49 for the shipping, they pay $4.99. Looks a little more sexy, a little better than the $6.49. So that means what the buyer sees with all those numbers, they see a $44.49 total. That's a lot better than the 10% off that I shared earlier with you, where it was $51.49 that they'd be paying. This way, they are getting a discount. So you, as the seller, let's break it down so you know your profits. For a $50 item, you offer $40 because you're offering that 20% off. Poshmark's taking 20% fee, that's $8. And then the selling shipping discount is minus $1.50. So that means your earnings are $30.50. That's still pretty good on your earnings. You really are only giving up $6 extra. So to entice the buyer more, are you okay with giving that 20% plus shipping discount and earn $30 as opposed to giving a 10% discount, no shipping discount, and making $36? My personal opinion, I'm willing to give those $6 extra to make the $30. One, because it's more enticing to the buyer, probably won't sit around longer. Two, $6, okay, it's not gonna break my bank. So I'm okay with giving that discount so the item sells. But that's when it comes down to your decisions and what you have to decide. You can say 10% is enough for me. That is what I'm comfortable with. Okay, you do it. But I broke down the numbers and showed you exactly what the buyer sees on their end. Ultimately, do what you're comfortable with, what you like to do. I just showed you the numbers so you know and you can decide what works best for your closet and your items. Now, before you watch this video, how are you sending offers? And what are you going to do different now after you watch this video? Share below in the comments so we can all discuss and figure out what each other's strategies are so we can test and implement things out as well. When I first started on Poshmark, I really had no idea what offers I should be sending or how much I should be sending offers at. And when I was doing it, I wasn't thinking about the buyer. In this video and earlier in the video, I shared with you examples of how a buyer views it versus how a seller views it. And this is something I did not look at when I first started. What I looked at was my earnings. What I saw was, oh, I could be making $6 more. I could make 26 bucks from this item instead of 20 bucks. I'll take the 26 item, which of course we all want to make the money. But without me looking at how a buyer views it, it didn't help me make my sales. And once I kind of changed my mindset and I put myself into the buyer's shoes and I saw how they looked at it when I sent offers, I was like, damn, that's a really freaking shitty offer. Like, I wouldn't accept that. 10% off on this? No way. No, I wouldn't want that. And it wouldn't be enticing enough for me to buy it. So why would it be enticing enough for them to buy it?